shape in classification in neural network. And some of these ideas follow on from some of the stuff that Charles Leek was talking about this morning, but there's a different slant to some of the things. Okay. So the question that we were interested in was whether convolution neural networks and humans have performed classification or in qualitatively the similar manner. So is vision qualitatively similar to convolution neural networks? And we decided to focus on the aspect of shape because it's been shown for a very long time that classification of images for human beings depends largely on shape. That's a fundamental property of human vision. It's such a fundamental property that it seems like a completely obvious point. So there are studies going back to the 80s that show that if the image of an object is replaced by its outline, then human beings are just as good at classification. And since then, there has been a lot of studies. I apologize to Charles Leek for not including his citation, but there have been a whole host of studies looking at the role of shape in human object recognition. And there are behavioral studies, there are MRI studies, there are studies about in the developmental psychology. So it seems like a really fundamental aspect that you look for shape. And this preference for looking for shape in performing object recognition has been called the shape bias. And by shape bias, I mean that when there are several diagnostic features, such as color, texture, etc., human beings tend to rely more on shape than anything else. Okay, so there is evidence for using texture, color, size, etc. as well, but shape seems absolutely fundamental, and they prefer to rely on that. Okay, so how did we test whether human beings rely, or whether convolution neural networks have this shape bias? So here's our paradigm. We constructed a data set that modified an existing data set. We took a famous data set like the CFAR10 data set. We modified the data set to include both shape features and non-shape features concurrently. Okay. We then gave this modified data set to well-known neural networks like the VGG network or the ResNet, the kind of networks that win competitions. And we asked the network to classify this modified data set. We varied various hyperparameters of the network just to make sure that we are considering a broad range of models and a broad range of algorithms. And we observed whether the classification was performed based on the shape features present within the images or the non-shape features that we had embedded within the image. Okay, so this is more specifically what it looks like. So you take an image from CFAR10 dataset. So the silhouette there of the plane represents an image from the CFAR10 dataset, and you construct images like these images with some, with sort of a noise-like mask on them, and you do that by combining the image with a non-shaped cue, which is this noise-like mask. You do that for all the images in the entire data set. So the entire data set now consists of these images which contain both shape features as well as these non-shaped noise-like masks. So the key manipulation is that these non-shaped cues are category correlated. So what I mean by that is that the non-shaped cue, the noise-like mask here that combines with all the images of plane, is statistically different from the non-shaped cue that is used to combine with the images of dogs. So each category has its own statistical property. And then you train the network on all these images, and then you test the network on similarly produced images. We call that the same condition. You also test the network on images that look quite similar but are produced slightly differently. These images in the different condition take an image from the CFAR10 data set but combines it with a cue from the other category. Okay. So the premise here was that if the convolutional neural network relies on shape to perform classification, then the same and different performance should be the same, because they both rely on the exact same image from CIFAR10 dataset. But if the neural networks are relying on the non-shaped queue, then their performance between the same and different conditions should be quite different, because they are picking up cues from different categories. Okay. So this is more specifically what these images look like. So here is an image of a plane combined with a noise-like mask. So we tried different kinds of noise-like masks. So here's the first example was when we inserted the salt and pepper noise. The second example is when we insert additive uniform noise. And then we tried an extreme condition where the noise-like mask or the non-shaped cue consists of just a single pixel on the image. So these are 224 by 224 images, and we inserted just a single pixel. So all the plane images would have a pixel inserted of a specific color, let's say in the top right corner somewhere, and all the dog images would have a pixel of a specific color inserted somewhere in the, let's say, the bottom left corner, and that's how that paradigm works. Okay, so and then we are interested in the difference between same and different conditions, and here are our results. So I'm plotting the results for the BGG network and the ResNet. We tried several different networks, but I'm plotting two of them. The light gray bars are BGG and the dark gray bars are ResNet. As you can see, the performance is quite comparable for both the networks, and we found that they were compatible across a variety of networks. The key thing to note here, I don't know which screen to look at. The key thing to note here is that the same and different conditions are really different from each other. For the same condition, you get nearly 100% performance. The network learns to recognize the images in the same condition at 100%. But for the different condition, the performance drops to 0%. And this difference between the same and different conditions is indicative of the fact that the network is simply converging off the noise-like mask. Even when the noise-like mask is single pixel, it prefers to rely on that single pixel as compared to the actual shape that was embedded in the image. So one could argue that this is somehow a little bit unfair for the convolutional neural network, because all it's seen is these images with a noise-like mask in them all its life, while human beings see images without noise, and then they see images with noise, etc., etc. So it's possible that you use your knowledge from your entire lifetime, and then when you look at an image that contains a single pixel in it, you ignore that single pixel based on that knowledge. So to make we did another experiment to make this comparison more commensurate for human beings and convolutional neural networks. We had a first phase of the experiment in which we pre-trained the network on an image net. Then we trained the network on the clear images. Then we tested the network. And in the second phase, then we trained the network again on these images that also contained the noise mask on top of them. Okay. And we tested the network after each of these phases. And here are the results. The light gray bars are the performance at the end of the first phase, and the dark gray bars are the performance at the end of the second phase. So again, we can see that at the end of the first phase, the network performs admirably, 80%. But when it goes on to the second phase, where it now encounters this noise-like mask, its performance again changes between the same and different conditions to widely different values. So again, indicative that the network undergoes catastrophic forgetting of whatever it's learned and simply converges on that either single pixel or the noise-like mask. Okay, so to conclude, what we wanted to test was whether human beings and convolutional neural networks human vision and convolution neural networks are trying to solve this problem of classification in qualitatively similar manner. And I hope I've convinced you that that doesn't seem to be the case based on our simulations. And the extreme case of even a single pixel is just, it's unfathomable that a human being would use that as a cue for solving that task. Okay, so with that, I'd like to thank my collaborator, Jeff Bowers, who's here in the audience, and just point out this project that I've been working on with the ERC grant, Generalization Mind-Machine, that's in general looking at this problem of whether convolution neural networks generalize in a similar manner to human beings. Thank you.